From black boy to millionaire, discover the unbelievable healing secret hidden in leftovers. Malik Johnson's world was a cramped apartment filled with the echoes of laughter from his mother and little sister, but beneath the surface lay the weight of unrelenting poverty. Every corner of their home shouted struggle, witnessed by mismatched furniture and peeling paint. In the diner, where he wiped tables and flipped burgers rarely seen outside the grease-stained confines of his life, he dreamed of something greater. Something that felt almost unattainable. He had a mind that sparkled with scientific curiosity, yet each day, he walked the halls of his high school, swallowed by the shadows of prejudgment. One evening, while clearing old boxes from his grandmother's attic, Malik stumbled upon a forgotten treasure, a weathered family recipe book. Each page overflowed with the aromas of their past, tales of resilience whispered through flour and spices. As he gingerly flipped through the pages, a spark lit within him. He was determined to transform the leftovers that often decorated their dinner table into gourmet creations. In those moments, cooking became an exhilarating escape, drowning out the noise of his anxieties and fears, but success came at a price. Within days, his culinary adventures became a spectacle at school, a toxic blend of praise and whispers laced with envy. Those who had once looked down on him were now threatened by his growing talent, their sneers punctuated with a relentless edge that rattled his confidence. Could he truly rise above? Malik felt the gnawing need to prove himself against those who only saw a poor black boy from a small town. Yet he feared losing the honor found in his roots, the humility that had always been his guide in these treacherous waters. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The tension soared as Malik uncovered a shocking family secret linked to his father's untimely death. It unspooled threads of his identity, weaving an intricate tapestry he hadn't anticipated. The legacy was steeped in culinary excellence, a lineage he never knew he belonged to. Suddenly, cooking was no longer just a means of survival but a tribute to his father and family, a rich history bursting to be celebrated. But with each culinary venture came a mounting expectation, crashing against a desperate fear of failure. As the culinary competition approached, Malik wrestled with self-doubt and the critical eyes of those who had once belittled him. The stakes were sky-high. This was not just a chance to escape, but a battleground where ambition collided with loyalty. He could taste the bitterness of jealousy, the sharp pang of vulnerability cutting through his veins. Would he abandon his roots for the bright promise shimmering on the horizon? For every bite he crafted, whispers of what if spiraled through his thoughts relentlessly. Standing on the precipice of his dreams, as the clock ticked down frighteningly close to the competition, Malik felt the weight of generations pressing against him, urging him to prioritize family over fleeting aspirations. The delicate balance between soaring to new heights or clinging to the love binding him tormented him. In that catastrophic moment of internal chaos, he questioned if stepping into that arena meant leaving behind the life he loved most. Would the power of dreams triumph over the suffocating tides of his reality? The question loomed ominously, waiting to be answered as he braced himself for the competition day. As dawn broke, casting a pale golden light through the narrow window of Malik's apartment, the weight of his impending decision hung heavy in the air. The chaos of last night's thoughts meandered like fog through his mind. Each ambivalent question: who am I? Where do my loyalties lie? Refused to leave him in peace. With the culinary competition barely hours away, his stomach churned, not from hunger but anxiety, the realization clawing at his ambition. He stood at the kitchen counter, the scent of forgotten spices lingering in the air, invoking flickering memories of late-night cooking sessions with his mother. His initial plan was to turn the leftovers into tasteful entrees, but now it felt like a haunting echo of what was at stake. Was cooking simply an escape from hardship, or could it serve as a powerful message that defied the narrow societal expectations thrust upon him? The promise of fame drew him like a moth to a flame, yet the thought of overshadowing the humble roots from which he sprang cracked open a fissure in his heart. He could feel his little sister's innocent gaze, her admiration shining through the cracks of their life. Would it be selfish to pursue dreams when there was so much for them both to fight for together? Or could he become the beacon of hope that shone brightly, illuminating paths out of poverty for not just himself, but for his family? His mother's voice echoed in his head, "Focus on the love you put into your cooking, not just the applause." It was a reminder of the values that had been instilled in him, a compass to navigate the tangled web of ambition and authenticity. With a deep breath, he resolved that this competition would not mark the end of his journey, but rather the beginning of a legacy paying homage to his heritage. The competition venue buzzed with nervous energy, the atmosphere electric with overbearing excitement mingled with skepticism. Malik could see it in the faces of his competitors. Many looked poised and self-assured, armed with flashy culinary skills honed in privileged tools he never imagined he could obtain. For a fleeting moment, panic scratched at his resolve, whispering that he was an outsider in a world designed for those far removed from his reality, but these moments of self-questioning ignited a fire within him. He envisioned the family recipe book as an anchor, its pages rich with stories of overcoming odds, of laughter shared around makeshift tables. It was time to own his narrative. He adjusted the apron tied around his waist, a simplicity connecting him to the past, ready to infuse new meaning and life into his meals. As he stepped into the culinary arena, tension rippling around him, he seized the moment. This was not merely about competition, it was about reclaiming his identity. Each cut of vegetables, every spice measured, was laced with intent. With every dish prepared, he bore the weight of his family's legacy and channeling it into art, all while daring to carve out his place in a society eager to redefine who he could be. But as the judging commenced, the eyes of the culinary experts scanned his creation. He caught whispers floating around the room, whispers that crackled with mockery and apprehension. Could he silence the noise as he unveiled his dish, all while knowing that some shadows might still linger, even in moments of triumph? It was time for action. He drew confidence from the past, ready to transform that energy into something that touched the very soul of his being. But just as he plated the final creation, a familiar voice from the crowd sliced through the air. "You think you can win with that?" The time had come to face the most vital confrontation of his life, one that would determine the course of his dreams and perhaps, the very essence of who he was meant to become. Malik's heart raced as he recognized the voice. It belonged to Jason, an adversary whose confidence often masked insecurity. Jason had everything: the culinary degree, the sponsors, and the charm that drew the judge's attention. This was a man who thrived in a landscape of privilege, where talent and connections lined the road to success, a stark contrast to Malik's gritty path shaped by struggle and determination. "Are you serious?" Jason scoffed, stepping closer. "This is a competition, not a charity." The smirk on his face held a cocktail of disbelief and disdain. Malik's breathing momentarily faltered as doubt crept back in, tainting the resolve he had worked so hard to cultivate. Was this just a naive dream? Could a boy from the rough edges of the city even dare to compete with such polished competitors, much less win? But the flicker of doubt ignited a deeper fire within him. He had heard that tone before, in the whispers of his family questioning the quantities of dreams they dared to hold on to. They had persevered through harder storms than a condescending remark. Each step taken, each dish prepared, had been built on a foundation of resilience. "Watch me," Malik replied, his voice firm despite the tightening knot in his throat. "I'm here to show that excellence doesn't belong to a select few." It was a statement that bulged with both challenge and vulnerability. The stakes had shifted, and the arena felt less like an adversarial battleground and more like a canvas, a space where he could paint his story with flavors, memories, and dreams. As the judges approached, Malik repackaged his earlier fear into a new framework. Each sensory interaction, the pop of herbs, the aroma of spices wafting through the air, turned into an opportunity. He meticulously adjusted the plating of his creation, knowing that every detail mattered. Each dish was more than food, it was a love letter to his mother, to his sister, to every ache and triumph they had endured together. The head judge, a culinary icon whose books he had studied for years, tasted his dish with a pinched expression that turned into a contemplative pause. What is this?" They asked, with genuine surprise. An evolution, Malik ventured openly, realizing the power in being vulnerable. It's a dish that tells a story, a recipe from my family, with a twist. It's about transforming leftovers into something extraordinary. He watched as the judge's brows furrowed, a sign that he was reflecting rather than judging. This was more than just food, this was the embodiment of resilience, creativity, and the rewriting of narratives. A moment passed that felt electric, and Malik stood steadfast, daring to hope. As the other finalists continued to present their dishes, Malik took a step back and observed them. He recognized the all-too-familiar air of competition, the desire to emerge triumphant, overshadowing the pure love for culinary art. What were they crafting here, a path to fame or a legacy like his? In that moment, he understood something vital: winning wasn't solely about accolades. It was about embracing authenticity and leaving a mark that passed beyond the temporary glories of applause. Shifting his focus once more to Jason, who had been watching with rippling skepticism, Malik chose to hold on to the notion that one's journey could intertwine both passion and professionalism. Hurling back a smile toward his competitor, he decided this was not merely a fight to prove a point, but also a stage to show that flavors could bridge divides. As anticipation mounted and responses began to unfurl, the atmosphere thickened with the tension of uncertainty. Could he solidify his place not only as a competitor but as a catalyst for change? Suddenly, a knock echoed across the venue, a rare sound in the temperature of the contest. All eyes darted toward the entrance, drawn in unison to the unexpected arrival. Malik's heart thumped. What could this mean for his moment of truth? Each beat resonated with the question, what game changer was about to walk through that door? As the door swung open, a gust of cool air swept through the venue, mingling with the tension, bringing with it a figure that seemed to command instant attention. Malik squinted to make out the silhouette against the backdrop of bright lights and glimmers of polished countertops. It was a woman, sharp-eyed and impeccably dressed, who carried an air of authority that paralyzed the murmurs in the crowd. What does she want? Malik thought, concern flickering through him. This was no ordinary visitor. The glances exchanged between judges and competitors signified recognition. She must have been someone influential in the culinary world. As she stepped inside, Malik's heart thudded once more, not from fear or anticipation, but from the recognition that this was his moment, his chance to redefine everything he had ever doubted about himself. Who says a kid from the other side of the tracks couldn't turn the stakes of this competition? The tension hung thick in the air like a simmering pot ready to boil. The woman, now unencumbered by the threshold that had kept her separate, walked purposefully toward the judges. Her confident stride seemed to challenge any preconceived notions, and Malik felt a flicker of solidarity igniting within him. If she could step boldly into a space clearly not designed for her, so could he. "Ladies and gentlemen," she said, her voice a steady cadence that commanded silence, "I am Charlotte Harper, and I'm here to introduce a new potential partnership with the winner of this competition." Her words echoed like a bell in Malik's mind, sending ripples of excitement coursing through him. An opportunity, something tangible that felt infinitely more significant than a trophy or a title. Suddenly the pressure of competition transformed into something profound. It was about a vision for the future, a platform for authentic expression through food. Malik's heart raced faster as he weighed his next move. What did her presence mean for him? What did he need to embody to prove he was more than just a competitor? Here was a chance to showcase not just his culinary skill but the passion, the heart, and the unique stories that he alone could tell. He could be more than just a face in the lineup, he could be a voice that demanded to be heard. He glanced at Jason, who wore a facade of confidence that seemed to wobble at the edges. Malik recognized a flicker of unease mingling with the competitive desperation. The stakes were higher now, and the art of cooking took on new significance in the light of this unexpected opportunity. As the contenders resumed presenting their dishes, Malik wrestled with a dawning realization. This was about more than just his culinary prowess, this was about standing firm in his identity and journey. Victory was intertwined with authenticity. If he played it right, his dish might just resonate beyond the constraints of competition. It could inspire. The moment arrived for Jason to present, and while the applause reverberated through the room, Malik chose to focus inward. He remembered the countless hours spent honing his craft, the failures that had wounded him, and the successes that had tasted just as sweet as his mother's dishes. He thought of the family recipes and the legacy he hoped to uphold. When Malik's turn came, he took a deep breath, grounding himself in the present rather than overwhelming outcomes. The vibrant colors of his dish glistened under the spotlight as he approached the judges and Charlotte with renewed confidence. "This is not just food," he started, eyes locked on the prominent guests. "It's a bridge, connecting hearts and histories, transforming what was once cast aside into something significant." But then Charlotte interjected, an edge of curiosity brimming in her expression. "And what do you hope to create, Malik? What impact do you envision with this dish and beyond?" His mind buzzed with the weight of the moment. Could he articulate the deeper script he hoped to write with his culinary ambitions? He could feel his heart racing, but for the first time, it was not fear driving him. It was passion, a desire to reach beyond the confines of competition. "Creating a community where food tells our stories, just like my dish today embodies my journey," he said, feeling the strength of his voice carving paths forward. "This can inspire others to turn their leftovers into something extraordinary." As he finished, the room felt charged, the gazes of the judges hanging in suspense, his authenticity leaving a palpable impression in the air. He had revealed himself not just as a competitor but as a dreamer, a visionary one. The resonance of his words lingered long after the moment, but with the stakes now elevated, Malik realized this was merely a precursor to a far larger challenge. Would his story truly be enough to break barriers, inspire change, and take his journey to a new horizon? The shadows of doubt, while diminished, loomed still large enough to ignite both fear and determination. Just then, a hand from behind lightly touched his shoulder as they moved through the crowd. Malik turned, startled, only to see Charlotte retrieving her phone to reveal a message. "They want to speak to you," she said, her expression now one of excitement. "You're about to connect with the chef who could change everything for you." And for Malik, that promise teetered on the edge of truth, potentially ready to unravel an entirely unexpected chapter. A chapter that could redefine not only who he was in this culinary journey but also who he could become in the world beyond. How could a boy with leftovers transform into an icon? The anticipation in the air was electric as Malik followed Charlotte through the crowd, his mind racing with possibilities. He could hardly process the reality of what was happening. One moment he was just a competitor amidst a sea of culinary talent, the next, he was being propelled toward an opportunity he had only dreamed of. This meeting was no longer just a chance at winning a competition, it was a ticket to something larger, something that could alter the course of his life. Charlotte paused before a closed-door marked executive chef. She turned to Malik, her expression serious yet encouraging. "This chef is not just well-respected, he is a legend. You need to be ready to make an impression." "An impression," Malik echoed, already feeling the weight of expectation press down on him. What could he say that would resonate with a legend, let alone one who was at the top of his game? What could he convey in that brief time that could stand out amidst the culinary expertise they encountered day after day? As they entered the room, a tall figure with graying hair and a warm smile greeted them. "Malik. Good to meet you," the chef said, offering a handshake. "I've heard intriguing things about your dish." Charlotte's enthusiasm had me curious. The compliment washed over Malik like a warm wave, yet it did little to calm the storm of nerves building within him. He couldn't afford to blow this, not when he was so close to making his dreams tangible. He could feel the skepticism of his earlier years surfacing, whispering doubts into his mind. Who was he to think he could belong in this world? But Malik clenched his fists. He had to silence that voice. "What do you want to do with your culinary career?" the chef asked, his gaze intent, searching Malik's eyes. Malik hesitated, taking stock of the moment. "I want to tell stories through my food. My culture, my family, everything we've been through can be expressed through flavors and dishes. I want people to connect with their heritage through what they eat." The chef's eyebrows rose. "That's bold. But tell me, how do you plan to reach people with that vision?" "By not just cooking for them," Malik replied, finding his footing. I want to create experiences. I'm inspired by the unique delights of leftovers. They represent more than just what's left on the plate, they are the remnants of tradition and memories. The chef studied Malik, a thoughtful expression flickering across his face. You mean to take what others would consider scraps and make them something beautiful? Yes, Malik asserted, gaining confidence with each word. I want to show people that the value of food is not just in its cost or appearance, but in its story. If I can elevate leftovers into something remarkable, we can create conversations around them, inspire transformations. A silence enveloped the room, as if reality itself paused to absorb his passion. The chef shifted in his seat, intrigue written all over his face. And what about the business side? Food is not just art, it's also commerce. You need to consider how to make this vision sustainable. That question pierced Malik's heart. Here was a fork in the road, an intersection of artistry and practicality. The harsh realities of the culinary business loomed ahead. Could he truly translate his passion into something lucrative? Would the memories and traditions resonate enough to build a brand? That anxiety lingered at the fringes of his excitement. I've thought about that, Malik admitted, unease creeping into his voice. I want to create a culinary concept around them, a restaurant or even a food truck that highlights innovative dishes made from leftovers. But I suppose I need guidance on how to make it happen. The chef smiled, a hint of admiration in his gaze. Ambition is a great start. If you want to move further in this space, you need to learn how to innovate but also how to navigate the business. Would you be open to mentorship? The word hung between them like the promise of untold potential. Malik felt a surge of hope mingling with trepidation. The next leap seemed vast, but this was his chance. Of course, he exclaimed, excitement bubbling in his chest. Absolutely. The chef offered Malik a nod, and an unspoken understanding passed between them. Malik had taken a critical step forward where once he had shackled himself with doubt, he would now foster the courage to embrace guidance and growth. Let's talk about logistics and how we can turn your vision into reality, the chef proposed, and Malik felt a wall of limitations begin to crack. As they discussed plans, Malik's thoughts spiraled. He was not just carving his place within the culinary world, he was preparing to forge a legacy built on connection and transformation. But as exhilarating as the development felt, he couldn't shake the sense that with each new door opened, deeper challenges awaited him. What other obstacles loomed in the corners of this ambitious journey? He could feel shadows behind him as he stepped toward the light. Would all the effort and mentorship be enough to overcome them? As he painted the future with words, Malik realized that navigating the culinary world was just the beginning of a much larger personal journey. When the meeting concluded and he emerged from the conversation, heart racing with anticipation, a thought ignited in his mind: who was he ready to become in the face of what was yet to come? With the meeting wrapping up, Malik stepped into the bustling hall, the pulse of the crowd surrounding him like a current. His mind raced, a cocktail of excitement and dread swirling within. The reverberations of the chef's words echoed in his thoughts, urging him to reflect. Mentorship. The idea felt both intoxicating and daunting. Here lay an opportunity not only to learn the practicalities of the culinary world but to reconcile his artistic dreams with the stark realities of business. Malik's usual self-doubt began to rear its head again, whispering uncertainties into the periphery of his thoughts. What if he wasn't capable of translating his passion into a sustainable venture? The voices of friends and family who believed in him fought fiercely against the skepticism raging within. Yet, clutching the edge of his jacket, he resolved to quell his fears. He would not let his insecurities dictate his path. As he navigated his way through the throng, each face seemed to mirror his internal struggle, a sea of ambitious souls, all on the quest for validation. They were not just competitors, every one of them held a fragment of a story, a struggle, a dream. He could feel an electric sense of community intensifying his determination. If they dared to dream, so could he. Settling into a quiet corner, he pulled out his notebook, flipping to a clean page. This was a ritual he cherished, a way to dissect his thoughts and map out his vision. He began to brainstorm. How would he elevate the narrative of leftovers into something that resonated with diners? The concept felt like a thread unraveling gently, revealing layers he hadn't yet explored. He scribbled down ideas, words flowing like water. Interactivity, he wrote, envisioning a space where patrons could craft their own meals from leftovers, an emotional experience. Storytelling events, snippets where he could share personal anecdotes about heritage and food. The page started to fill with potential, the fear receding as clarity emerged. He was reclaiming agency over his narrative. His phone buzzed, interrupting his thoughts. It was Charlotte. "How'd it go?" she asked, the enthusiasm glaring through her words. "Really well." Malik typed back, excitement spilling over. He summarized their discussion, leaving out the nerves but highlighting the mentorship. He felt lighter, as if by verbalizing his triumph, he had stepped further into his potential. "Great. Let us meet tomorrow. I know a few people who can help with your concept." Malik's heart raced again, a mixture of gratitude and apprehension. It was one thing to dream, another to share those dreams with the world. Suddenly, he was at a precipice ready to leap but acutely aware of the ground far below it. The support felt thrilling yet intimidating. Who would expect him to rise among the ranks, especially with an idea that challenged preconceived notions? In the days that unfolded, his life shifted. Mentorship with the chef burgeoned into practical sessions, dissecting both culinary techniques and the nuances of business strategy. Malik was immersed in the energy of creation, the kitchen resembling both sanctuary and battleground. He learned to innovate, crafting dishes that each told a story, a pulsing tapestry of history, flavors, and inspiration. Yet, even as his dishes gained recognition, threads of self-doubt began to unravel in unexpected places. During discussions about financing his idea, questions shadowed him. He found himself pitted against those who could muster the cultural capital he struggled to navigate. Could he sustain this momentum? Would the authenticity of his mission be enough to cut through the layers of commercialism? One evening, Malik strolled out of the kitchen, exhausted but invigorated, when he overheard a pair of chefs debating the future of food. "It's gonna be all about practicality," one asserted. "People lose interest if you can't sell the story." The words pierced Malik, plunging him into introspection. What if his story wasn't marketable enough? Instinctively, he reached for his notebook. The pages filled with scribbles and sketches that reflected his discoveries. But hidden beneath the surface was an aching question: could loyalty to his roots and the desire for cultural connection truly thrive in a landscape driven by profitability? Each moment he refined his craft, he layered on expectations, and pressure ballooned within him. Malik was walking a tightrope, balancing passion and practicality, craving connection yet fearing failure. When he returned home that night, the shadows of self-doubt wrapped around his heart like a vice. What lay ahead was uncertain, and what would hold true as he ventured deeper into the culinary world. The culmination of dreams felt perilously close yet infinitely far. As Malik contemplated the journey that loomed, a profound realization bubbled to the surface. He was ready to confront what remained hidden within. How far would he go to bridge his passion with a business that could endure? Would his identity transform in ways he hadn't yet considered? With the night bustling outside, Malik resolved to embrace the journey, unsure of what it would reveal yet ever more committed to pursuing his vision. The next morning, Malik would open another door, one that could challenge everything he'd built thus far. What awaited him on the other side? Malik woke early the next morning, anticipation mingling with anxiety. The sun poured through the window, casting a warm glow over the clutter of papers and culinary sketches scattered across his desk. He sat on the edge of his bed, staring at the designs he had crafted, feeling the weight of his dreams pressing down on him. Each page contained his hopes, but also a haunting reminder of the uncertainties that lay ahead. As he prepared for his meeting with Charlotte, he found himself mentally rehearsing what he would say. The vision he had for his culinary journey had crystallized over the past week, but articulating it to others still felt like standing naked in front of an audience. The gnawing thought returned: was he ready to share this passion, this vulnerable piece of his identity, with others? The cafe where they agreed to meet buzzed with activity. Malik arrived slightly early, hoping to collect his thoughts amidst the chatter and clinking of porcelain. He ordered a strong black coffee, letting the bitter taste ground him as he exhaled slowly, trying to unveil the tension gnawing at his insides. He reasoned that the meeting was just a conversation, a stepping stone toward tangible progress. Yet, the thought of exposing him to scrutiny felt like a sharp knife at his ribs. Charlotte arrived, her bright smile illuminating the table like a beacon amidst the crowd. "Hey, Malik. You look deep in thought. Ready to get to work?" Her enthusiasm was a refreshing antidote to his unease, and as they settled into the conversation, her warmth encouraged him. He began to outline his ideas, casting aside the trepidation that held him back. As he spoke of the intersection between cultural storytelling and practical meal preparation, he saw Charlotte's eyes widen with intrigue. With each passing moment, Malik felt his confidence swell, transforming fear into determination. It felt exhilarating to watch his visions ignite her imagination, creating a shared space of possibility. Charlotte leaned in closer. "You know, Malik, you have a powerful narrative. Your background influences your dishes and connects with people on a human level." Her affirmation surged through him like adrenaline. He felt seen in a way he hadn't experienced before. This was beyond culinary techniques. This was about creating an emotional landscape through food, a bridge connecting not only leftovers but lives. "Let's talk some logistics," she said, snapping him back from the reverie. "I have connections to a couple of investors who appreciate innovation and authenticity. They might be intrigued by your concept, especially if you can present a solid business model behind it." Malik's heart raced at the mention of investors. The thought of pitching his food philosophy to those who held the keys to resources felt both thrilling and precarious. Could he transform his narrative into something financially sustainable? The idea that people would believe in his story enough to invest was both enchanting and terrifying. For the rest of the meeting, they strategized over details like pricing, target demographics, and branding. With each new notion exchanged, Malik's vision expanded. He would revive the art of leftovers not just as a necessity, but as a culinary avant-garde that challenged societal norms around food waste. The realization settled within him that to build this bridge between his passion and practicality, he would need to embrace the entrepreneurial spirit as fervently as his love for cooking. As the meeting wrapped up, a newfound resolve anchored Malik. There was still uncertainty looming ahead, but for the first time, he could see a path illuminated through the fog, a convergence of his artistry, heritage, and business acumen. The initial taste of possibility was exhilarating, yet, just as he began to savor the success of the meeting, an unsettling thought crept in, dimming the brightness of his ambition. What if the investors failed to see the worth in his narrative? What if they only viewed him as another aspiring chef vying for attention in a saturated market? The juxtaposition of hope and fear created a churning tension within him as he left the cafe. Malik realized that the stakes were rising, and now he had to prepare for the next hurdle that could either elevate him or bring him crashing down. The idea of vulnerability in front of potential investors loomed large. What would he do when it came time to defend his vision against scrutiny? The moment to confront those doubts would quickly approach, and Malik understood that he had to fortify himself with confidence and clarity. A pivotal crossroads awaited him, full of anticipation and potential danger. Today marked not only a commitment to his dreams, but a preparation to face the shadows that had haunted him for too long. Would his ambitions withstand the test of the business world, or would they crumble under pressure? Only time would reveal which road his culinary journey would take next. Stepping onto the sidewalk outside the cafe, Malik's pulse quickened as the sounds of the city enveloped him. The initial excitement from his meeting still buzzed in his veins, but with each stride, doubt crept in like a lingering shadow. The investors. He had to present his idea with a confidence that matched the fervor of his passion, yet self-doubt nagged at him like a relentless itch. Reaching his apartment, he flung the door open and collapsed onto the worn couch. The culinary sketches sprawled out before him felt both like a treasure trove and a cycle of impossible demands. Could he really pull off what he proposed? He sighed heavily, scanning through the ideas laid out before him. Each sketch was a reflection of his dreams, but also the potential barriers that could shatter those dreams into fragments. To push through the fog of uncertainty, Malik turned his focus inward. He began jotting down a list of potential objections he might face during his pitch to the investors. Every critique he imagined became a tool for strengthening his concept. What if they questioned the scalability of his model? Could he truly turn a leftover-driven kitchen into a flourishing enterprise? The afternoon wore on, and as the daylight began to dim, a resolve solidified within him. He needed to practice. Not merely to memorize a pitch but to embody his vision as passionately as he had during that meeting with Charlotte. He would perform a mock presentation, refining his thoughts and forcing himself to confront the fears swirling in his head. In front of the large mirror in his apartment, he began. The reflection stared back with a mix of anxiety and determination. "Hello everyone, my name is Malik," he said, envisioning an audience before him. "I believe we can change the narrative around food waste through a new lens, leftovers." The words gained strength, resonating within the quiet apartment. Each phrase felt deliberate, a strategic demolishing of the walls built by his fears. As he continued, he noticed something remarkable. The act of speaking out loud broke open a seal in him. He imagined the investors not as gatekeepers but as partners in a shared journey. The narrative he crafted was not merely about food but about legacy, his heritage infused with resilience, creativity, and sustainability. With every repetition, his voice grew bolder, and his confidence expanded. Eventually, he started addressing counterarguments, mentally stepping into the shoes of potential critics. "You may ask how I plan to reach a wider audience," he posed to the mirror. "It's simple, we're going to elevate leftovers from a merely economical choice into a culinary trend through innovative presentations and storytelling." He found himself immersed in the essence of his venture, and fear transformed into strategic intention, but with each passing minute of practice, a new undercurrent surfaced. Malik recognized that beyond the business model lay a deeper emotional investment, his desire to change perceptions around food and foster a deeper connection through shared cultural narratives. He needed to anchor this human element in his pitch, grounding his entrepreneurial aspirations in authenticity. As the evening wore on and his thoughts morphed into a cohesive narrative, a singular question arose from within. What if his pitch could not only gain financial backing but also inspire a movement? His heart raced at the unfolding possibility. Just as Malik began to revel in his newfound conviction, his phone buzzed insistently on the table. The email alert flashed on the screen, and the moment felt charged with anticipation. "Charlotte. Investors." He reached for the device, heart pounding with the excitement of possibility, but when he opened the email, confusion washed over him. It was an invitation to a tasting event showcasing established chefs in the city. The timing felt almost ironic. He could use this opportunity to network, but it also exposed the competitive terrain he was stepping into. The realization weighed heavily on him. Could he face renowned chefs who had already carved their niche while he was still in the formative stages of his idea? Suddenly, a new challenge emerged that threatened to derail all he had worked for. The stakes escalated, and Malik found himself at yet another crossroads, a choice to either step into a bustling culinary arena or retreat behind the safety of his sketches and plans. The invitation hammered home the rapid pace of his aspirations, and Malik grappled with uncertainty once more. This was no longer just about proving his concept, it was about standing amidst the very giants he had admired from afar. With nothing but a deep breath, Malik contemplated his next move in this newfound, challenging landscape. Would he choose to showcase his vision amidst proven talent, or would he let fear dictate his path yet again? The answer loomed like a storm on the horizon, and Malik knew he must confront it head-on. Where would this decision lead his culinary journey next? The moment Malik read the invitation, a whirlwind of emotions swept through him, transforming the initial excitement into a pulsating anxiety. He had long dreamt of sharing his passion for food, but entering an arena filled with culinary giants unnerved him. The prospect of standing shoulder to shoulder with established chefs invoked a mixture of admiration and dread. What could he possibly add to a space already populated by expertise and accolades? As night fell, Malik sat on the couch, his sketches scattered around him. The invitation glimmered like a siren-esque call against the dim light of his apartment, urging him to make a choice. Should he attend the event? Dive headfirst into a world that felt, at this moment, overwhelmingly intimidating? Malik mixed his internal struggle with a glimpse of determination. His mind oscillated between possibilities. What if attending this event allowed him to network, to showcase his vision, to reach a broader audience? Each imagined interaction with a renowned chef sent a fresh pulse of adrenaline coursing through him. But alongside this excitement, self-doubt slithered back in. What if he bombed, embarrassed himself in front of potential collaborators, and, worse, undermined his dreams before they had even started? He leaned back into the couch and closed his eyes, allowing moments of reflection to wash over him. Memories of his grandmother's kitchen flickered in his mind. The smells, the laughter, the love infused in every meal. This was more than just a career, it was a pathway to honor his lineage and share a language of resilience. Could he become the ambassador of that culinary tradition? Determined to take action, Malik opened his laptop and began drafting his thoughts. He contemplated his mission, a journey not just toward success but toward creating a community around the culinary use of leftovers. There was authenticity in this endeavor. It was about crafting experiences that celebrated culture and creativity. With each word he typed, confidence curbed the flow of doubt. He envisioned speaking not just about food waste but about the joy, connection, and possibilities that leftovers could offer. The narrative began to align with his deepest values. It wasn't merely about the culinary arts, it was about challenging societal norms, redefining perceptions, and stirring a conversation about sustainability within the culinary world. As he pieced together a tentative plan for the tasting event, an idea sparked a prototype of his vision for a dish using leftovers that highlighted the simplicity yet elegance of repurposed ingredients. The thought transformed Malik's apprehension into electric motivation. He could present something tangible that would speak volumes of his creativity and intent. Each flavor combined in this dish would become a story, a testament to his heritage. Malik stood up, the resolve rushing through him like a rising tide. He paced the small living room, rehearsing his pitch again, this time focusing on how his approach could bridge the gap between culinary artistry and sustainability. The rhythm of his speech gained momentum, and he could almost taste the success he sought, one that was rooted in authenticity rather than competition. Yet, lingering in the back of his mind, the natural anxiety returned. The stakes weren't just about his career, but also about living up to the legacy he aimed to honor. Malik paused mid-step, grappling with a potent realization. What would securing this opportunity mean for his identity, his connection to his culture, and his commitment to nurturing a sustainable future? As the evening wore on, and with a heart full of determination, he made a decision. He would attend the event, not merely to compete but to contribute, an invitation to share his unique voice with those who might need reminding of what truly mattered in the culinary world. With that renewed focus, Malik crafted a note of intent, preparing himself for this test of character. The anticipation and pressure swirled around him. This would not be about proving himself, it would be about realizing he had a space among those he once viewed as unreachable. But as his phone buzzed again with a glittering alert, Malik's heart skipped a beat. Could this be an unexpected turn that might change everything? What awaited him on the other side of this decision, and how might it redefine his path? As Malik prepared to step into the tasting event, a kaleidoscope of anticipation and determination coursed through him. The venue, a chic hall adorned with culinary artistry from top chefs, buzzed with an electric energy that both invigorated and terrified him. It was a true crossroads in his journey, a moment where talent met ambition and self-doubt met opportunity. When he walked through the entrance, everything felt surreal. The aromas of seasoned dishes wafted through the air, a savory promise that ignited his passion. This was where established chefs thrived, a world starkly different from his humble beginnings. Yet he held on to the conviction that this night was not solely about competing, but about sharing a vision that transcended his own. He wasn't just here to showcase talent, he was ready to initiate a dialogue about the value of leftovers and the stories encapsulated within every dish. As he mingled, he introduced himself to fellow chefs, engaging in conversations that revealed both the joys and challenges of their culinary paths. With every interaction, he felt a warmth emerge, dissolving the barriers he had placed between himself and the culinary giants who once loomed over him. Confidence began to surge, rooted in the very essence of his identity, a proud heir to cultural heritage expressed through innovative cooking. When it was time for Malik to present his dish, his heart raced. His creation heritage in a bowl was a sophisticated homage to his roots, transforming simple leftovers into a gourmet experience of flavor and memory. Standing before the panel of judges, including seasoned culinary critics, he could almost hear the whispers of his family encouraging him, urging him to own the narrative he had spent a lifetime shaping. "This dish," Malik began, his voice steady but filled with passion, "is more than just an amalgamation of ingredients. It represents resilience, the stories embedded in each family meal, and how we can elevate the ordinary into the extraordinary." He could feel the judges leaning in, their interest piqued. As he plated the intricate components, he shared anecdotes of his grandmother, how her kitchen wasn't just a place for food but an archive of family history, filled with lessons on creativity and resourcefulness. With every word, he painted a vivid picture, inviting them into his world and igniting a sense of connection. When tasting commenced, the panel looked intrigued. A head judge's brow furrowed at the first bite before a look of surprise washed over his face. "Innovative and nostalgic," he remarked, and Malik felt a surge of joy. The authentic blend of flavors resonated with not only the judges but with every chef in the room who experienced the weight of tradition mixed with contemporary flair. In a moment of unexpected clarity, Malik realized that he had accomplished something far beyond winning the competition. He had shared a piece of himself, dismantling the barriers built by doubt and judgment. Instead of feeling like an imposter seeking validation, he transformed into a storyteller, an ambassador for his culture through food. After the presentations concluded, Charlotte approached him, her enthusiasm palpable. "Malik, this was groundbreaking. The judges were genuinely impressed. You showcased the vital importance of not just reducing food waste but celebrating the heart of culinary stories." The affirmation felt like a warm embrace, cementing the transformation Malik had undergone. He had not only confronted his fears, but he also proven his place within the culinary world, a space where creativity flourished, and heritage was championed. The results would later reveal Malik as the winner of the evening, which felt incredible, but more than that, he walked away with something far more valuable: the confidence that his passion could spark real change, and the belief that food could foster connection. In a whirlwind of congratulatory messages, he embraced the weight of recognition and achievement that no longer felt like an elusive prize, but a well-deserved culmination of hard work. An unwavering belief in his vision. As he left the venue, Malik's heart raced with excitement for the future. There, nestled within every ounce of his triumph, was a promise to elevate not only his dreams but to inspire others through flavors that resonated with hope and resilience. The shadows of doubt felt light against the glow of possibility. Everything had shifted, the echoes of his humble beginnings now celebrated in newfound confidence. Malik was not just a boy with leftovers, he was a culinary innovator, ready to carve his path, ready to share his journey, and ready to transform how the world saw food, one dish at a time. Now it's your turn to transform how you engage with the stories that inspire. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and support the content you love. Comment your reactions and theories about Malik's journey and the potential impact he'll have. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share.